close teams in our first match. It's Onyxian versus Sinister. Let's talk about Sinister's lineup first up. This is a team that you said, as you said before, we've seen last season. They've been under the Sinister banner for a while now, North American organization. But we do have 2 roster changes here.
Yeah, 2 relatively big changes in that. So from last season, Vicious has dropped out of the team and Tex has moved to Fnatic, who we'll see played later. He was obviously known as Copper in season number 10. To replace them, they've brought in Vinny from the Oddity roster, which is now Onyxian, and Serum is coaching, as well as Milo from Sleeper Gaming, an up-and-coming under-18 team that was up and about in the R6 Masters, our national tournament. Other than that, not too many massive changes. I've got Serum, as I mentioned, in as a coach, and they're looking potentially revitalized here.
Yeah, and these guys didn't have such a hot last season, but we'll get into a bit later what we think of this new roster. I think we're pretty optimistic is kind of the consensus that you and I have had. And Milo, I want to highlight, he's a very young player, just turned 18, previously played, as you said, for Sleeper Gaming. He's one to watch, and also Vinny, who previously played for, you guessed it, Onyxian. That's our next team today. So he will be playing against his former team, Gus.
Yeah, Onyxian as well, going through some pretty big changes. So Vinny, as I mentioned, he's over to Sinister. Todd has left the team. He's currently LFT. And to replace him, they brought in Digital and Geo. I think also it's noteworthy to mention that Raven has actually left the team as well. He was their coach. He's actually become a caster. I don't know why he'd want to become a caster.
Oh, no, imagine that.
But yeah, they've undergone some pretty big changes. I personally am a little bit skeptical depending on how this is going to pan out, but anything can happen.
Yeah, definitely. And we have some highlight players here as well, with God Legion being a standout fragger entry player in the ANZ region. Vast also, he's got a lot of Pro League experience under his belt. The captain of this team, IGL, that's all good and well. But Geo and Digital, they're yet to be tested at a Pro League environment. This will be their Pro League debut this match, as well as Milo, who will be playing for Sinister. So a lot of young, formerly under 18, just turned 18. The clock has just struck and they're playing in Pro League now. So that's super exciting. And I think one of the things that we wanted to get into before was Vinny and his role in this matchup, is that he's versing his former team, but we'll dive into that after we get through the map veto phase. So let's bring up the map veto. How this works is each team bans 1 map at a time in about 7-map pool until we get down to the final one, because it's play to number 1, so everything's on the table. Yeah,
no auto bans, and it will be Kafe for our first map. Kafe, a map that took a while to be seen in the previous season, but they're jumping straight on board it. And should be pretty interesting. Looking at the stats here, it's a map that Oddity have played a little bit. They've played it twice, won it once recently, either their last 10 matches. And if we look at Sinister, they've played it 3 times and won it once. So not their most successful maps, but could make for an interesting matchup.
Yeah, most recently, Onyxian actually beat Homeless in the 6 Invitational closed qualifiers on this map, 7-4. So Homeless is a really good team. Homeless ended up actually going through to the grand final. Unfortunately, Onyxian had to forfeit their later games. But I think that's a pretty good recent result for Onyxian here. And that also was not on stream. So Sinister don't have that VOD to go against them. Yeah, I think Kafe is going to be a pretty fun place for these teams to clash. I feel like it's not any of these teams' most played maps.
Yep.
So, and like I said, there's not as many VODs. So it means that these 2 fresh teams, 2 fresh rosters, they'll have new canvas to paint on.
Yeah, I guess a little bit of a red flag that I've looked at here. The last time that Sinister played this map against Fury, they lost that 7-8, and I don't think Fury is really a team that going into this season we're seeing as a team that's going to battle for the top. So losing to Fury doesn't give them the best form heading into this, but that was a bit of a long time ago. We know that Sinister, they boot camped actually recently. We forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
So look, things can change pretty quick in Siege.
That's right. Sinister, we've got a lot of eyes on them after that boot camp. They all met up in person. So what do you guys reckon, Onyxian or Sinister? Let's run through this poll vote. Wow, okay, we're actually going with Sinister.
Okay, I didn't expect that going into this. Sinister pulling some strong support there. They've got quite nice support behind their org. Maybe the fact that no one really recognised the Onyxian name may not have helped them. But yeah, that probably would have expected to be a bit more even, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think that if you look at this on paper, Onyxian under Oddity came 3rd in the Pro League last season. Sinister were just a couple rounds shy of escaping, relegations.
Yeah.
So this is, I think Onyxian are the clear one to put your money on, but a lot has happened. Both of these teams only 3 out of 5 what they were last season. So Yeah, I don't know. Where would you slate it? Who do you think's going to win this one? I don't want to put you on the spot, but like, you don't think that this 66% for a Sinister is fair, do you?
Well, I mean, for my Siege GG predictions, I did each team to win one map, so I guess I'm sort of lying in that draw territory, which only 6% went for. So
yeah. No one likes to vote
like,
for a draw on Twitter. People never vote for draw, even when it's a close game. People like to put their foot down and say it's going to be one or the other. That's what I find.
It's just. It's hard to pick. I think we're going to have a better indication coming out of map 1. Definitely. How we're feeling for map number 2, because it's a little bit of an unknown at the moment, I feel.
Yeah, context of that, last season these guys played each other and Onyxian 7-0'd Sinister. Sinister came back on map 2 and put up much better of a fight. So let's get into Kafe map number 1. It's the Battle of the Dragon logos here. Let's get stuck into Season 11.
Straight into the ban phase, Dev. I know you've got your stats ready and waiting.
Oh,
what are we expecting?
Operator bans, eh?
You spent a lot of time on these spreadsheets.
I did, and look, these teams, they don't do anything crazy different. Sinister, they like to ban Hibana and Capitao, both fairly normal bans. They like to ban Hibana on all kinds of maps, not just the typical ones where you would ban her against hatches like Clubhouse and Bank. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that come out here. But instead it is the Thatcher ban. Now, we like our Thatcher bans,
I love a Thatcher ban.
Yeah, and APAC's really brought it in. It's one of Fnatic's most banned operators and also Aerowolf, so it's definitely part of that, I guess you could say, APAC map. Yeah,
I'm really interested to see if Sinister will actually couple that with the Jaeger ban later on, because obviously Wamai isn't in competitive play yet, and taking Jaeger off the board will just make those throwables even more powerful.
So, going through the rest of the ban phase, wow, okay, Onyxian have... I think this Cade here is a counter ban to the Thatcher. So, Onyxian have seen Sinister's banning Thatcher, and Onyxian don't want to have to deal with that K, which can otherwise be very difficult to get with. They'll still have to deal with mute jammers and bandit batteries, but there's something else big that's missing here, which Onyxian have decided to get rid of, and that's the Thermite, an operator which is really, really instrumental for a lot of Kafe takes, where if you want to push into piano, you would be typically thermiting open that wall top red, and I guess the same on that downstairs bakery defense. You can open up the walls from garage into freezer, or the walls on the front of prep and kitchen. So that's definitely going to be an interesting landscape moving into the rounds here.
Yeah, Mirror being the last defensive ban there, so it's not going to be Jaeger. That still leaves, of course, Maestro and Echo still on the board, so plenty of info gathering for the defenders. And coming straight out of the ban phase, I get the impression that top stairs will be really hard to attack, but Sinister, they've gone kitchen.
Yeah, they have decided to go downstairs first, might throw them off a little bit, and my goodness, who let Onyxian change their names like this? This is gonna kill me.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, Gozo Red, that's red. Digital is Ash Digital. The problem is they don't realize this, but now we're going to have to try and read them. See on the top of the screen there, we got Geo, Vast, I don't know.
It's impossible.
And, oh man, this is impossible. I'm sorry, Onyxian, but Sinister have to win now. That's just too much. You're pushing my buttons.
That is, yeah, very questionable. Thanks, MC, for flicking through all those. How very kind of you. Thanks, MC.
Yeah.
Goat Observer. We love him, don't we?
Yeah, so let's dig into this. So you mentioned that it's a bit of an oddity that they're going downstairs first to bakery. No, I wasn't even trying for that one. I just came out.
Wasn't bad.
So yeah, we're going downstairs first, and it looks like we're not actually even seeing Sinister reinforce all of the main walls. You see, Luna just left one of these walls to garage unreinforced, and instead she's reinforced the garage exterior walls themselves. Now with no thermite, it's going to be very difficult to open up a lot of long angles outside that garage, and we don't have a Maverick, so it's just the Hibana from, I think that's Digital, who will be opening up hard walls for Onyxian.
There's going to be a lot of thinks it's this player.
I think it's this player. All right, so Nom Nom is God Legion, and Wa is Digital, and Goz was red. There you go. Thank you, MC.
Need a pen and paper to remember this.
Need to write all this down.
Onyxian, though, they don't seem too phased. They're going to spend their time just drawing out the objective, try and suss out if there's any roamers, and it looks like Sinister have about 3 or 4 on site, plus Milo, I believe, playing inside of the bakery. Milo is a very aggressive player, of course. Fresh into the Pro League, as he was underage before that, playing for Sleeper, and definitely known for his very explosive plays, if you would. He loves a good 3-speed. He was in my DMs last night at 1 AM. I was about to go to sleep, and he wasn't happy at my Siege GG prediction. He was complaining. He reckons that they're activated. That was his words.
Yeah, and that's something we've both been speaking to Sinister about their changes and a bit about their roster, because they've had a lot of role swaps as well, and they do seem quite confident going into this game, despite in some ways being the underdogs.
Nico here with the cheeky angle.
I mean, that's Nico for you.
That is the Nico play, isn't it? We saw him before as well, using the super shorty to make some interesting angles over towards the red stairs. And Nico, he loves a good angle, but Onyxian taking their time here. They're about halfway through the round. It looks like they've cleared the third floor and the second floor. Just being mindful of any flanks that could be produced here by Sinister. But as mentioned earlier, they're basically just hunkering down inside, and all this time is being used to clear out players that aren't actually there.
This is a smart move from Sinister to play passive like this, because as you said, Onyxian's wasting quite a lot of time. They do have this vertical play coming out from the buck. You could see him standing on tables earlier. He's worried about these C4s. Fisher Guy does have one in the pocket he may use later. Gio's going to continue opening up the floor once he gathers a bit more information. Air jab on the stairs there will prevent some of these rotations, but Sinister, they have so much control, and not just inside the bomb site, but they've extended themselves to the outer ends of the bottom floor with Fisher Guy holding VIP there.
Man, it doesn't feel like anyone from Onyxian is really pressured or challenged Sinister. Vast, though, he's going to drop the hatch in towards Freezer. That wall is soft, as mentioned before. That could work against him if a player does flank. That'll be Fisher Guy. He could shoot them at short range with the shotgun. Doesn't look like he will. Meanwhile, Red's actually going for the plant. Sinister, they need to be mindful of this and try and deny it. 30 seconds on the board. The denial isn't there. Molluska's close, but doesn't quite see it. The diffuser has gone down. Nico flanks and gets one. It is a 3-on-5 post plant. Sinister still well and truly in this round. Milo gets one. Doesn't see the player on the floor. Does finally down him, though. And now it's left up to Gio to try and hold the bomb from above. 2/3 left in that diffuser. He has a really nice angle inside of Engine. Sinister are going to basically be forced to go above. He gets the first. The call-out should count. There he gets the second onto Vinny. No way! Onto Nico. It's now a 1-on-2. The diffuser is still there in position. Luna's going to get her head taken off as well. That's the quad kill. But the trade comes out there from Fisho. Will he have time, though, to get towards the diffuser? It's going to be super, super tight. He might just get it. It's going to be really close. He gets on it. 7-second counter defuse, of course. It's going to be really tight. That counter is going down. He might get it in.
No way!
No way!
The clutch! That's a 1 versus 5 clutch without the ace. No way!
What a way to start the season. Oh my goodness.
I'm speechless. How do you let that happen?
Attackers are activating the diffuser.
That was insane. And Gio, just his debut into Pro League, his first round ever in the Pro League, and he gets a 1 versus 5 post plant. And that wasn't easy. That was not easy. He had 3 people flanking him upstairs, and yes, the Nomad charge helped him there, but he found that kill. He was so low after that. Imagine if he'd gone to take the fight with the guy in train before killing that person on the diffuser. That would have been the end of it, and Sinister would have won that round. But no, Onyxian come out swinging. Man.
Sinister, that's going to be demoralizing for them. And I guess harping back to that final gunfight, Luna was on the bomb before that gunfight came out. I think if they had their time again, they would trust that flank before going for the defuse again, because if they had the kill, Luna would have been right there to get it in time instead of Fisho having to run all the way back. But
the problem is imagine Fisho had taken the fight before Luna was on the diffuser, and then Fisho had lost the fight. Luna doesn't have top floor control. It's a 1 versus 1 and she has to defuse. That'd be an unenviable position as well. So you can't harp on too much about Sinister. I feel like that wasn't Sinister throwing the round away. That was absolutely Gio stepping up and winning a round by himself.
Talk about a debut.
Man.
That was explosive. And man, if this is your first time watching ANZ Pro League, you are in for a treat, because we love to have some explosive plays here and then. And wow, hey,
and honestly, they just saw that the site was open. They did see quite a few players on our round, and I think strategically Sinister actually won that round.
Yep.
Yeah, because they had an excellent post-plant scenario for a retake. It's just that Gio managed to find enough of those kills, and that Nomad charge helped him immensely. Nonetheless, Sinister, they lose that bakery defense, just barely I might add, and they head upstairs to what we would typically regard as the primary bomb site.
Third floor, I mentioned it earlier. It's probably going to be a really hard site to attack with these bands. You have both Thermite off the board and the Cade, which will make Hard Breach hard, and Thatcher. So, man, it's going to really challenge Mirror as well off the board. Won't have too much of an impact on this site, not typically used, but then that opens the gate for the Echo and the Maestro to be played. One of those will be played here by Sinister. That'll be Luna on the Maestro. She'll be able to gather some nice intel. That Alder, can't be underestimated how strong that gun is.
There's a lot of information denial for Sinister as well, both Mozzie and Mute. And with the Thatcher ban and Onyxian, it's going to be very difficult for them to get information, but you can see they decided to take the gamble, and God Legion pushed all the way into Cigar very aggressively. There is presence below from Nico in particular. He has a C4 he can use if he has information, but that Evil Eye inside of Piano has already been destroyed. And now Digital is going to be opening up the walls into Freezer using his Hibana pellets.
Once again, Sinister playing relatively close to site and still wasting Onyxian's time. It was pretty similar timestamps to what we saw in the previous round as Luna gets Giovanni. So that ulti already getting to work. She has been taken low, but definitely enough HP to get a couple more kills. She's going to jump on that Evil Eye, getting intel and damaging these attackers as they try and push the site. That's a Hibana charge going off, so she has to move positions. Almost gets taken out as she crosses, but she gets her life nonetheless. But that opens up the B site quite a bit now, Dev, doesn't it?
And great utility from Digital to flush out that position of Luna, and on top of that, they did deal a lot of damage to the Maestro as she escaped. But here's a fluffed Hibana pellet, and there's no entry into the Freezer, so Digital's stuck, and he's all out of X-Kairos. We'll keep trying to make angles downstairs. Nico knows that fairly soon he'll need to make a play.
Nico in the perfect position here to deny the plant when it comes out. As Vigil gets one, Milo gets one to Vast, but that plane is still going down. Gold Legion gets one there onto Fisher Guy, but he doesn't quite get another. The diffuser is now down. It's a post plant, so the denial from Nico seemingly just not available in the perfect spot to C4 it. So now Gold Legion needs to try and hold it alongside his teammate. Sees one at the top of blue and gets it. That's Milo off the board, making it a 2-on-2. Nico's on the flank. He has to shoot that air jab, so that's going to be a sound cue now for Onyxian. He makes his way through the Scar balcony, but gets shut down as well, leaving it all up to Vinny, the ex-member of this team. Can he hit a 2v1 clutch? Can't quite get the shots on the first, but gets the second. That's Digital off the board, and now he needs to find one more. He's under that new balcony. Can he find the shot? He knows the play is there, but he gets shut down, and Onyxian will take 2 rounds in a row.
And it's once again Onyxian playing very plant-focused. They saw an opportunity to get that diffuser down, and they did just that. Vast also repelled in from the east windows onto that new cocktail balcony. And while he did fall fairly quickly, that was part of the reason, I think, that distracted Sinister from the plant denial. And Onyxian 2 rounds in a row have got that plant down with quite a lot of players still on the board. You talked about how Nico failed to deny the plant. I believe he killed the planter just after the diffuser went down on the ground. So do you feel like we're kind of placing that on Nico for that plant denial not coming out early enough, or was it something else?
I feel like it was a bit more of a team effort. We saw earlier that Luna had a camera right in that position, maybe a little bit masked by the little bench top there, the bar top, maybe covering exactly where he planted, but there probably should have been the call though that a player had run all the way under Skylight, because if you're going there, chances are you're going to be going for the plant. So maybe they just weren't on cameras at that particular time. I'm not sure, but as you mentioned, plant denial a little bit too late, and then the post plant wasn't quite enough.
Certainly panned out for Onyxian, even though it was fairly close. Yes, it did end up in a 1 versus 1. I really do like that they are going for these plants. We were actually having a conversation later today, you and I guys, about how planting has fallen out of meta in the last 6 or so months.
Yep.
And really, because there are so many operators that deny that plant, smoke, C4s, information gatherers, Maestro Echo, people are really trying to force the defenders to move and then swarming the bomb site
5 seconds left.
instead of actually aiming to get the plant down, at least on a lot of maps, a lot of bomb sites.
Yeah, of course, very small sample size, but it's been 100% plant rate so far.
Yeah, that's
both
right.
rounds of the bomb has gone down.
And
again, with Sinister having players on the board as well, having plenty of utility to deny it, just not quite having the comm links in check to actually execute that.
We also have an 100% attacker win rate on Kafe.
Yeah.
For now. And yeah, anyhow, let's get into this round. It's the same. Oh, actually, it's not the same. Rather, it's library and dining for Sinister. So this is the newest bomb site added to this map, reading room. But in a lot of ways, it does look very similar for Sinister. Nico, in particular, playing the exact same position in mining room, downstairs. He's trying to pressure into piano on the top of red stairs. I think he's expecting someone to break through that soft wall just now, but it doesn't look like anyone's going to bite.
Flame wall's being set up here by Gold Legion to try and cover his flank. Pre-fire coming out. There actually is a player inside of Train by the looks of things. That's Nico. He escapes with his life though. Unfortunately, he didn't deny the plant in the previous round, but it seems like he's pretty confident playing offside at the moment, whilst the rest of his team hunkers down on the objective.
This is a fairly typical kind of hold from Sinister. The bomb site, dining in particular, has been opened up so plant can be denied from outside, and they'll hold quite heavily upstairs. As you can see, Luna here at Cocktail. She has a lot of information thanks to that Maestro camera. She's a little bit worried about grenades and utility and that skeleton key she hears ringing out from Giovanni. Drone comes out and spots her. Onyxian are currently trying to find out how many players are upstairs here at Cocktail and what are their positions, what utility do they have to support them.
Looks like Milo has tried to come over to aid Luna in holding this position as Digital's holding it with the ACOG. He's going to start getting aggressive, and it's going to be up to Milo.
Oh!
The run out coming up from Milo. That's vast off the board. Fantastic shot from him. Not even a headshot, but enough to get the kill. He should be able to make his way back to site, but that's Luna off the board above. So pretty much a one-for-one trade there, and Sinister now need to try and recuperate on the site.
Yeah, and that'll be top floor control as well. As Milo did run outside, it left Luna all alone, and I think that was Onyxian realizing the Jaeger's gone outside, so let's push onto Luna while we can. Oh, but this drone, this could be so bad for Milo. Fortunately, he gets out of dodge. He is exposed now to angles, could be generated upstairs and killed through the floor, but he's still alive for now.
That skeleton key still has a few shots left. So they need to be really mindful of above here, Sinister, but it's only 30 seconds left on the board. This is the round that they could really start to swing things back. Not a lot of time for Onyxian to get that plant down, and those holes above could be used against them if Sinister decide to rotate late. Looks like plenty of their members are playing on the southern side of the map at the moment. Basically
There's no
all
time
of them.
left, guys.
I know, Onyxian need to try and go for this execute. We can hear that skeleton key still raining out, but this is the flank from Fisho, guys. Red goes for the plant. That massive flank could go big. Fisho, he gets the shot and he gets the down. That's one. God Legion gets a double O. Moloska with his as well. It's a 1-on-2 just like that. The plant is down though, so it is another post plant for Sinister. They need to try and get this round. We've already seen them fail 2 post plants. Don't make it a third. Looks like Maya's going to bait the counter defuse twice while his teammate covers. That's Fisho guy playing quite close with the SMG, but doesn't get the kill. It's now 1-on-1. Red versus Moloska. Moloska gets the kill. He jumps off the bomb just in time. That's the quad kill for him, and Sinister will finally get around back.
It was so close. Once again, for Sinister, they almost let it slip through their fingers, but 3 for 3 plans for Onyxian, but Sinister finally do get that retake successful. They'll get 1 round on the board. They went to all 3 bomb sites. It was their 3rd attempt when they tried reading room that was finally successful. That'll be locked out now, though, so they'll have to go kitchen or bar upstairs now. So what was it for Onyxian that fell apart that round? Because they managed to get the plant down. It was just the retake that they lost.
I still feel that Sinister are leaving that way too close. There was about 15 seconds left in the round, and you commented,
yeah,
what are they doing? They somehow got the plant down, which they probably shouldn't once again. And that refrag was was so close there from Moloska at the end. He was literally on the counter defuse as the player peeked around the door, and he just got off it and flicked up in time. It was way too close for comfort. Sinister, I think, really need to be focusing on what's going wrong during that plant scenario, because it's a breakdown of communication possibly, or just the plant deniers not really fulfilling their role. You shouldn't be letting the bomb go down 3 rounds in a row.
Yeah, and we almost saw, like, as much as we're saying Sinister should be doing more and could be doing more, we also saw how close that was to not be a Sinister round. Imagine if Fisho guy flanking up white stairs had been killed by Giovanni, the Buck, playing upstairs. Imagine if that kill had gotten traded immediately, because that was really the only thing that Sinister had going for them at that point. And what was it? 4 versus 4. Flank goes down. And Sinister's only hope rides on a flank up white stairs. That realistically should never happen. You should have info on that flank, or you should have gridlocks or nomad devices to prevent that from happening. I think part of that, I guess, is the fact that Vast was killed really early from that run out, so he didn't put those nomad devices down. If Vast wasn't killed, if Vast put his air jabs down, Sinister wouldn't have got that flank, and I don't think they would have gotten that round.
So you're saying Milo won them that round because he got the run out, which
yeah,
did forfeit above control in the end, but then he also hit the quad right at the end. So
I think you're right.
Stepping up big already.
Yeah, a lot of new players to the Pro League who have made a big impact so far. It's kitchen defense now for Sinister, and it looks like Onyxian, as per the first attack onto this bomb site, they'll take control of the whole map, start upstairs. It's a bit of a gamble because it does take so much time, but they will do that and take control of top, and I expect to open up a lot of the floor using the Buck from Giovanni and see if they can sneak off another plant.
Nico using his Mozzie drones to full effect. Of course, Mozzie can use that pest launcher, capture those attacking drones, and then actually use it against them, using that particular drone inside of Bakery to gather some intel. I believe it was Luna playing in there earlier, so trying to feed her some more info as she's playing over towards Cupcakes. She has an Evil Eye as well to watch her position. She's also watching the Red Hall, so a lot on her plate at the moment. But for now, Onyxian there, still pushing above. Digital as well over towards the garage. And I know you're a big advocate for opening the garage, Dev.
Yes, open up garage, the attack. As an attacker, you can really hold a lot of angles, not just in garage, but all the way down that hallway and towards the bottom of what I call half stairs, a lot of people call brown stairs. And cut off white as well. I think the next obstacle Onyxian are going to face is that Ella Fisho guy playing inside of VIP. He's got that shotgun. It has been nerfed somewhat, this FO12, but it still packs a punch and is one of the best weapons in close quarters.
Fisho has been droned out though, and it looks like multiple members of Onyxian are trying to hunt him down. He flicks around and gets a couple shots off, but he's still full HP. He actually got the down there onto Vast. That shotgun absolutely working a treat. It looked like he was getting pushed from the other side as well, so he needs to be mindful. Digital being very careful as he goes for the res. That was very risky. Vinny gets one as well, and Fisho, so it's actually 3-on-5. Sinister now with the man advantage, and Onyxian on the back foot. Just over 30 seconds to go, and Nico will actually get one as well. So it's a 2-on-5. The two players over towards the main garage at the left. Make it a 1-on-5 as Vinny gets one as well. Now it's all up to Joe. We saw him clutch a 1v5 in round number 1. That was in a post plant though. I don't think he's going to be able to do it again here as he peeks down brown stairs. He gets one there onto Fisho. Come on, Sinister. Don't let it happen again. He only has 15 seconds on the board. They can't hit him. This man, he's a little bit of a Neo. He's just dodging all these bullets, but he will finally get taken down by the cross. And Sinister have brought themselves well and truly back into the map.
Yeah, it was looking a bit scary at first, but they do. Oh man, that's an angle from Nico. Angle and a half there.
Just Nico things.
Yeah, if you don't know Nico, this man is what, Reddit famous and
pretty much Twitter famous.
Twitter famous because of
Siege famous.
His coconut bra's best bra.
I see what you did there because they're brothers.
Yes.
Bra because coke.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, that's good.
Yeah. So. I mean, Sinister are well and truly back in the game, as you said.
For sure.
I was pretty worried at the start. People always bring this up. I feel like it's a point that probably gets beaten to death. But this is an overall defender-sided map. We expect a lot of defense wins on Kafe. I think that now the map's been around for a lot longer. People are getting a lot more confidence on their attacks on it. But you know, Sinister really do need to be getting at least 2, hopefully 3, hopefully 4 rounds on their defense. And who knows, they could still end this half in the advantage if they clean sweep from here on out. The bomb sites they failed were Bakery first, downstairs, and then Bar up top. They went in one reading, and now they're back to Bar after winning bottom as well. So this could be a full round the world, as they say, if they win this round.
Could well be, as we're actually going to see Fisho guy playing Goyo. So we haven't seen Goyo, nor have we seen Amaro yet in ANZ. We've seen some Goyo play in the other regions, an operator that brings 3 of these Vulcan shields that have a red explosive device on the back of them, and if you shoot them, it's a bit of a fire. Think of it as a mobile asphyxiation bolt in some ways.
They go boom.
Yeah.
And then they stay hot for a little while.
So they're really good at stalling plants, at stalling breaches, stopping rushes. And it looks like Sinister are pretty excited to give him a crack.
Yeah, one of the unique things about Goyo, in some way, the deployable shields themselves are really, really strong.
Yep.
Even non-Goyo shields, just normal deployable shields, really, really strong. But Goyo gets 3 of them, and one operator can usually only bring 1 deployable shield. So even if you're not using the fire effect, the shields themselves can be very strong, just for cutting off lines of sight, making things a bit more difficult for the attackers.
Well, let's just think, if Sinister have at least 3 shields, that means that Onyxian using the Zofia lifeline, that's only 2 down. And then Buck potentially with 1 nade. That's a lot of utility already off the board.
And let's assume that at least one of those things gets caught out by an ADS.
Yep.
You don't have enough. And of course, you've got Maestro cameras, 2 to get rid
Thatcher.
of. Yeah, there's no Thatcher. Maestro cameras have to be destroyed by Buck's grenades or Zofia's lifelines. So that's 5 pieces of utility from Sinister and only 4 bits of utility to destroy them from Onyxian.
Hopefully, Sinister can use that intel a little bit more wisely. We've seen them struggle a little bit in the first 2 rounds in denying the plant. But we're hoping not to make that same mistake again. It looks like Onyxian are going for a classic push here. Milo, though, he could cause some issues inside of Piano. Fisho guy with the Goyo playing at Pixel as well. Looks like Onyxian are setting up to try and create a crossfire here, try and squeeze them out, but not having much success so far. Golden's just pushing straight into shop. Does he even know Milo's there? It looks like he does. He gets the shot. Milo seemingly unaware that that player has pushed in. Vinny retrades onto Geo though, so it's 4-on-4. Fisher guy pretty content in falling back there off that pixel angle.
That was a big run out. I think it ran all the way out the bus window on the north side of Bakery, and somehow managed to get an angle all the way upstairs on that repelling player on piano. Great angle there for Vinny. And that's the 2 grenades down. So that's both lifelines destroyed. Both lifelines used, rather, by God Legion. One got a Maestro camera, I believe, and the second one got nothing just then in piano. So any remaining Goyo shields or Maestro cameras will be invulnerable, unless if you can shoot the canister on the Goyo shield.
Onyxian taking their time with their attack once again. We've seen Sinister playing site quite strongly and stalling their opposition out as Nico gets one onto God Legion, so it's a 3-on-4. Things will start to kick off now as Onyxian realise that they don't have much time, but Luna shuts it down as well. Red's going to go for the main door peek too, alongside Vast, but it looks like that won't be successful. Vast as well, right behind him, manages to get Luna down, so that does make it a 2-on-3. Still not a great position to be in. A lot of these angles are chokes, but he gets the second. Sinister, stop throwing these rounds. You know where they're coming from. Finally, the refrag will come out from Vinny, but Red gets one back. It's now up to Nico. We know he's such a strong player. He knows a lot of these angles. Can he deny the plan? He didn't deny it the last time. He doesn't have the C4 to deny it this time. Red, he's a pro. He doesn't fake. He sticks it down, and now Nico needs to go for the retake. Red, he makes his way over towards the white corridor, down towards Pixel. Still has that ACOG in hand as well, which could prove deadly. Nico trying to find him as well. Surely Sinister have some intel somewhere. Red is a little bit scared, so he's going to hold the top of white. Nico is aware of his position, pre-firing it, but he doesn't have much time to play with. He needs to go for that frag. It's a 7-second counter defuse. He won't have enough time to hit it. He needs to go for the kill. Instead, he's going to try and bait it out here. Looks like Red is pretty content in just creeping up, and he should be able to get the kill. And there we go. Onyxian will take the round. Once again, proving to be too strong on the 3rd floor.
A very close round at that, though. That was a 1 versus 2 clutch for Red at the end. And you said it perfectly. Sinister, stop throwing these rounds. Vast should never have been allowed to find that 2K from underneath the new hatch balcony. Well, the first one was onto Cocktail Balcony, and that was a fairly easy, it was just one straight up 1v1. The second player, he just turns around the corner. There's only a few seconds on the clock, so Onyxian have to be pushing. Sinister needs to know that. And the Goyo is jumping between Freezer and Bathroom, and that's just not the right time to be making that rotation. Looking the complete wrong direction. It was the easiest kill of Vast's career.
Well, you mentioned earlier that we thought that planting the bomb was coming out of meta, and Onyxian just completely thrown that out the window because it's happened that many times. It's happened the majority of the rounds when typically it's the minority. And
did they not plant one round? Oh,
it's 4 plants I've got so far.
Yeah, so
out of 5.
It was the kitchen round they lost. They failed to plant.
That is correct.
Because they got wrecked by the Ella. Yep, that's my
stat tracking.
Yeah, that's my. No, that's memory. I actually didn't write that down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
These are good.
Yeah, so that's the good thing. Like, I might write some stuff down, but I still have a memory. Anyhow, it's Sinister, the final round of their defense, and look, if you're used to Kafe being a bit defender-sided, and then you think, okay, imagine normal Kafe, you don't have Thatcher anymore, but also you don't have Thermite anymore. You think, oh man, that's crazy defender-sided right now. We got Echo and Maestro both in the game.
Yep.
And yet, Sinister are potentially staring down a 2-4 half split unless they can win here on bar.
Yeah, and post Ember Rise launch, it's approximately in officials about a 37% attack win rate.
Oh man.
So they're already beating that stat, and as you mentioned, with those bans on the board, Sinister are really going to have the odds against them if they don't produce the results that Onyxian are. So they need to be mindful that they don't let it slip too far here. Draw is still salvageable, but ideally they need to just keep stacking rounds up, otherwise it's going to just creep up on them this match point. And by that stage, it's too late.
Looks like God Legion was tempted to get aggressive pushing up white stairs, but then that Mozzie was spotted on a drone. This is a perfect rotation to cut off from God Legion. They'll just need to exercise patience here. Nico actually himself is looking through a punch hole through a different doorway, so who will get off their angle first? Who will hold it? Their patience may be rewarded. Oh no, the Sophia's looking the wrong way. It would have been a free kill onto the Mozzie right now. Nico hasn't seen the punch hole. He does snap up another drone as well. Really, we need to see God Legion holding this angle. He would have had a free kill by now if he had, but he's completely distracted with white stairs. Meanwhile, Digital the Hibana does find 1 kill onto Mollusca. And Nico's stuck here in mining. 2 players about to peek him, but I don't think they know where he is.
Such a dangerous situation. He gets 1. Can he get the second? No, but it is retraded. So it's a 3-on-3. Vast there cleaning that one up a little bit sloppy from Onyxian. They had the angle shut down, but just not quite having the timing nor the intel. Either way, though, that does leave it in a 3-on-3. Still favourable for Sinister statistically, but the stats have been thrown out the window a little bit this match. Onyxian very efficient in getting that plant down. It looks like Red has the diffuser in hand on this occasion. Sinister potentially with the C4 on the board. That'll be Vinny. Luna hopefully has some evil eyes up as well. So yeah, C4 in hand. Definitely potential here for Sinister to deny the plant. But will they stuff it up again?
Yeah, one thing I wonder is how will the loss of the Hibana affect Onyxian through the rest of this round? Because it is top floor, and they've been using that Hibana to open angles into their freezer and expose a lot of these positions from the defenders. If they don't have that anymore, how will that affect their success at exposing these positions, these players?
God Legion getting some drone work done. It looks like the diffuser is actually being repelled to the east here. So instead of going for this western push where Vinny is currently located and defending, they can go to the opposite side, use some utility to try and get in. And Vast has actually made his way in, but he gets shut down, and so does God Legion. So Red now is left in a 1-on-3.
What are you doing, Luna?
Luna gets taken out. It's a 1-on-2, but thankfully for Sinister, the retrade is there. We've seen them be a little bit dicey in these last seconds of the round, and once again, round number 6 proves to be no different, really.
Yeah, well, Sinister, we've seen some mixed results. We've seen some nice things. We've seen some questionable moments, but 3-3 is not that bad. If you write out 3-3, I think hey, that's pretty good for a Kafe defense. Not great, but not bad. And the real question for me here is how much will this Thermite and Thatcher ban affect the defense of Onyxian? Because it seems to, I don't know whether it was. I don't feel like it made Sinister's defenses that much stronger, because Onyxian still managed to hack away 3 rounds just with that Hibana, and no real Thatcher substitute other than, let's say, IQ.
We didn't see Bar as the first round of the first half. That was actually Kitchen. Did see it played 3 times though later in the half.
It's the only time they won it, Sinister, was just then.
So this is an objective that both teams do have a little bit of experience at so far today. Now, as you mentioned, I'm really interested to see how Onyxian do approach that late round. It's where we saw Sinister at their weakest, failing to deny plans and potentially rotating at positions that were probably not really favourable if you looked at that clock. I wonder if Onyxian might be a little bit more poised.
Yeah. So, Onyxian are fielding a very similar operator lineup to what we saw from Sinister on their defense. I think that with Thatcher banned, Maestro, sorry, oh yeah, I guess Maestro to some degree as well. I was going to say Mozzie and Mute, but also the Maestro, all the 3Ms, are just really, really strong, because they're their best counter, and maybe not for Maestro, but one of the best counters for these operators is just not pickable as Sinister banned the Thatcher. But Onyxian's going to take advantage of that as well. Information is going to be very difficult for Sinister to acquire with all of these Mute Jammers and Mozzie drones around. But Sinister are doing something different to Onyxian with their attacking lineup, bringing the Maverick, their only hard breach, in fact, opting not to take the Hibana. They do have a lot of soft breach destruction, though, with that Buck and the Ash, so they should be able to deal with these Maestro cameras pretty well.
Yeah, I do find it interesting, Sinister bringing in Ash over potentially that second hard breach. We know Milo is their entry. He can frag strongly, but it gets to a point where if Onyxian plays super passive and don't pick into him, that utility might have limited usage. Yes, it can take out Evil Eyes potentially, or other gadgets scattered around the map, but at the same time, with that Jaeger on the board, those Evil Eyes could well be protected, and that's not really going to be too helpful. Those Ash charges will be eaten up. Looks like, no, he will get the first, so doesn't look like that one was protected, and that should allow them to move inside of Piano a little bit more freely. Moloska, that is... Where is that drone?
Stealing that. It's inside something in, I think, the laundry downstairs. I'm definitely going to steal that.
That's epic.
Yeah. So that's an interesting way to get control of Piano. They just repelled on the windows. They didn't open anything from top. Why? I'm surprised Sinister didn't try to contest that a bit more, but I guess they were worried about that window presence. Okay, wait, is that surely not going to be a kill? God Legion, you can't get away with that. Nico gets down, but not out. Fisher guy is covering their flank. And Miliska picks up Nico again. Wow, this is such a cheeky position to be in for God Legion.
Bit of an OG spot sitting behind the bomb, and it gets him a kill. That's Milo off the board. Nico was dropped before, but brought back up. Milo picked him up earlier, but now he pays the price. You could even say now it's effectively a 4v4, 4v3 in some respects, Nico being low as well as the Jaeger for Onyxian. Still could have an impact though. Nico does have the ACOG. Fisher guy as well now, really low. So Sinister just failing.
Oh, no way.
It could be down by the Evil Eye. He just escapes in time. He's trying to still work on that wall and try and flame it out, but Onyxian are preventing him from really doing that effectively, as they are content in just holding angles and playing passive.
Clock is ticking, Sinister, and not only do you have two players so low on HP, but you look a little bit lost. They do have an angle to look into Freezer, but no kind of entry to speak of. Red can safely hold this white hallway, but Vast is just going to peek him through the Maverick holes. He'll get refragged, which probably a bit unnecessary for Onyxian to peek that. There's only 15 seconds. Onyxian, you need to hold on, and Sinister, this could be your big break. As Vinny pulls up, gets control of the white hallway. He does get traded back after Geo gets that one, and God Legion, a 3K at least on the round. And Onyxian successfully defend bar on their first round of the half.
In some respects, that felt very similar to the Sinister defense. Onyxian were holding strong for the majority of the round. Probably got a little more zealous with their picks early, which helped them. But again, it came down to that last 15 seconds. We saw the rush come out from Sinister, and Onyxian almost faltered like we saw Sinister do so many times. So I think it's definitely something to watch for the rest of this map, that last sort of 15 seconds where we know Siege is at its most hectic, and teams that are disciplined during that time really thrive. But so far, both these teams having some teething issues, I feel, during that period.
And I feel like part of the reason why we see teams so uncertain near the end of these rounds is the fact that I think it's partly due to the two attacker bans. Thatcher is meaning that there's so much information denial on the ball with the Mute and the Mozzie that the attackers are really struggling to get enough information to take that next step. Because the classic thing, if you're not sure what to do on your attack, you've taken some ground but not enough, what do? Whip out a drone.
Send it.
No, come on. Before you do that, you whip out a drone and you send it into the bomb site. You figure out. Yeah, all right, send the drone. You don't mean not full send, just a half send. And the other thing is Thermite, because with Thermite gone, we don't really have any operators that can make a hole you can progress through. You've got the Hibana, you can make 2 or 3 Hibana pellets together, but Onyxian never actually succeeded in doing that, and Sinister won't even bring the Hibana. They're still not bringing the Hibana. So there's no easy way to be like, okay, let's push in. And there's no easy way to be like, let's drone in. So they kind of sit there thinking, man, we know it's not a good idea to just push up here without information, but we got to do it. But we're not going to do it happily. We're going to wait around a bit first.
Yeah, and that upstairs bomb site really only exacerbates that weakness to the attack because of how... So typically the players will sort of just filter in, I guess, and just line up for the defenders in many cases, especially if you're playing an ACOG in the back of the new balcony, for example. You can sort of just sit back and just chill out a little bit. You're not under too much of a threat.
Speaking of the threat, I don't know whether this... There hasn't been a lot of droning here, I think, or at least the drone's getting disrupted because God Legion's allowed to stay undetected for such a long time. Is Vinny going to catch him off? He does get droned out, shot out from multiple angles, and I think he'll likely get finished off here as well. No, he actually drops downstairs. Surely not. Giovanni goes for a C4, doesn't detonate it just yet, knows he doesn't have to, but that's a great salvage from Onyxian to get God Legion back on his feet.
Ooh, that's a nice shot, though. So Vinny does get Geo off the board. Not the worst result in the end, but would have been a little bit cleaner if they did get that initial frag. Either way, Digital still playing over towards Cocktail Lounge, and this is what I was talking about earlier. Sitting back with the ACOG is so powerful. Fast at the top of white. He almost gets one himself. I believe he actually did down Milo there as Fisho gets Digital. So it's a 2-on-5. Well and truly now in favour of Sinister. Even if they can't get Milo up, it will be at least a 2-on-4. Nico, though, he does get Milo in the process as the rest of Onyxian have transferred downstairs. Red's playing over towards the train museum, and it looked like Vast was playing over towards the laundry. He's got that hatch to watch as well as the white stairs. Red meanwhile is pretty much covering the stairs and his flank in the meantime. This is what you were talking about earlier, Dev. This is the time where you just need to send those drones out, get that intel, and then go for that execute.
Sinister do seem to be doing just that. Drone goes through into library. Would spot out fairly quickly that there's no one in that room. Vast is just outside the room. He's not exposed through the floor. The ceiling above him is solid, and a Red also not exposed as he's playing inside of a solid roofed room. But Sinister are starting to realize where these players are. They don't have hard info yet, and Vast rotated back into library. I don't know whether Onyxian are aware. If they aren't, he could certainly punish. Red tries to get closer. Vast doesn't have a C4 to deny. Surely he can't win that gunfight. Gets caught out just barely. Red does find the 1 kill, but he's got so many angles to contend with. Not just the planter, but 2 players watching onto him. They get refragged, and there you go. Vinny closes out the round for Sinister. They're looking much better after that attack.
Pretty clean in the end. They did let that final defender get through and deny the bomb plant, but again, they had those processes, had those angles in place to quickly shut that down, and in doing so, they even out the scoreline for a piece. And man, the draw that Milo wasn't very happy about me expressing in terms of, well, I thought it was going to be 1 win to each team, but it could well end up being a map draw. Yeah,
you're not wrong here. We're kind of at the point where we're trading rounds as well. It was 2 for, I was about to say Oddity, 2 for Onyxian, 2 for Sinister, and then we've been trading ever since. So we are on Onyxian's half here in defense, and I feel like I've been saying it so much with these operator bans, it should be defender-sided. Let's say Kafe, let's pretend that Kafe was just a neutral 50-50 map attacker defense. These operator bans should make it defender-sided. So if it was already defender-sided before these bans, it should be even more so.
Yeah, as we alluded to earlier, it's already sitting at around 63% defender-sided at the moment, and I would say that with these bans, you could well see even as high as like a 15%, 20% swing towards the defenders, which would really put it up there around 80%, meaning that you should, as the attackers, theoretically be winning maybe 1, maybe 2 rounds in your half, but so far, it's definitely not gone that way, as it was 3 apiece in the first half, and it's already been 1 round each in the second.
5 seconds left.
Yeah, now, well, Onyxian are trying this kitchen bomb site for the first time.
Attackers are
Haven't seen them before. Sinister tried it twice, and well, they got it right 1 time. Something we noticed when we looked at the scoreboard just earlier was that currently Vinny from Sinister is on 11 kills, top fracking out the game against his former team. Now, he must be feeling pretty good about that.
I have the impression he'd probably be pretty happy, I would think. Just a little bit,
I
for
mean,
now.
God Legion's not far behind, and he's been doing pretty well. I mean, God Legion is a player that we expect to be racking up those frags, but, you know, Vinny, he's a flex fragger is what Luna told me when I asked, and he certainly did a great job at what I would call, I thought he was a flex support for Oddity, and I thought he did a really good job at that, and he's fitted into Sinister really well, which is heartwarming to see.
Sinister trying to take above control here. They are, of course, defending down below, though, trying to clear out any potential roamers that are gathered around the map. It looks like Vinny has made swift work of that so far, clearing out towards the mid of the white stairs. Vast holding a similar position to what we saw Fisho Guy holding on the Alla previously, over towards the VIP sort of entrance. Vinny not being too overzealous so far, waiting for the rest of his members to help and support him. Luna, talking about supports, of course, the support for Sinister playing Nomad. Should be able to place those air jabs around the map and try and prevent some of the flanks coming out from Onyxian. But once again, it's definitely a feeling of calm before the storm. Neither team losing a pick. Onyxian pretty content in holding towards the side, and it's up to Sinister to make that first initial move.
Yeah, like you said, Onyxian do have a lot of that bottom floor presence. Sinister opening up holes in the floor. Both of these teams attacking and defending this specific bomb site very similarly. That said, Onyxian didn't reinforce this garage wall, which does leave it vulnerable to be shot out. Although there's not any serious soft breaches around here, so we'll see how Milo moves up. He's got Vast to contend with, who's been droned out now. God Legion is ready to support Vast, so if these 2 Onyxian players get exposed, they can refrag each other. God Legion right and ready to watch for Vast. Vast gets taken down. There's a perfect refrag. But now God Legion is under the pump. 2 players watching for him. He managed to get away scot-free, though. The Sinister have made their move.
And it's essentially in a 3-on-4. Make that a 3-on-3. Retrade comes out though, so it's effectively a 3-on-2 as Geo has been down, but he gets picked up there by Red, and they'll be able to make their way in towards Prep. It's not being held at all by Sinister, and he makes his way all the way back towards site. Sinister not holding any flank towards that location, so they know that it's pretty safe. Digital, meanwhile, gets the Maverick as he tries to torch open that hole. Fisho Guy is off the board. The refrag comes out though, so it leaves Nico in a 2-on-1.
What?
He gets shut down though. Geo takes him off the board, and Onyxian he'll take round number 9.
Good salvage there from Onyxian as well. It looks like Sinister had done a pretty good job of clearing out those outer areas of VIP. That said, God Legion just seemed to find 1 frag here and 1 frag there, whittle down those Sinister numbers. And as time got a bit short there for Sinister. They really didn't have many choices. Filed into the bomb site, every kill getting refragged out till they had no more players left. And Onyxian getting pretty close now. That said, on their defense, they can't retry the same bomb site if they are successful. So they'll go out to Bar Cocktail, which is where they won first up. Eventually, they may have to go to Library if they win this one. They'll be on match point. They'll get at least 1 point on the standings, because you get 1 point for a draw, 0 points for a loss, 3 points for a win. And we've learned through these seasons that every single point on those standings matter. You can't get away with drawing to a team you should be winning against.
And it even comes down sometimes to the head-to-head. If Onyxian and Sinister are drawn on points towards the end of the year, it could well come down to who's taken more wins or more rounds as the mini-league proceeds. Either way, though, a stat that I wanted to mention in the second half, the bomb hasn't gone down once. Whereas in that first half, the first 2 rounds, or 3 rounds rather, the bomb went down.
It was like 5 out of 6, I think, of Onyxian's attacks. There was a defuse.
I didn't track the last round, so I can't tell you, but it would have been close.
Yeah. So Sinister aren't playing so much for the plan. And I think Onyxian are also on the defensive side playing a bit more aggressively than Sinister were on their defense, which is what enabled Sinister playing a bit more passive on the defense, enabling Onyxian to get into those plant positions. And I think that was part of the strategy for Sinister, being more retake focused, whereas Onyxian, I feel like, especially with God Legion, part of the strategy is just to consistently be that annoyance, always fighting for those refrags and try to find a pick at any point throughout the round that you can.
Line coming out here from Fisher Guy, an operator that was very strong back in the day. We're actually talking about this when Line received his nerf. He's now not quite as good as his former glory. Back when he was actually taken out of the competitive pool, he was that good. But it will help the team gather some additional intel. They don't have Jackal on the board on this occasion, so instead opting to play that line, and maybe that will facilitate those last-minute pushes, because if the defenders are forced to move late in the round, of course they will be pinged out with some pretty big red indicators.
Still a lot of mute jams to contend with, as you can see. How frustrating it must be to be Sinister at the moment, trying to get this information. It looks like Fisher Guy just wants to drop this balcony. Down the skylight, no, he gets back on a drone. Does have a bit of info here. He gets his drone inside scot-free. You can see how careful he is. We know how dangerous it is with your drones moving inside. As soon as your drone gets taken out, there's so much info lost to you.
That equalizer is really difficult, I feel, to take down unless Nico is able to nade it. It looks like potentially he's inside of shop at the moment and might do that, but he's not focused on it at that moment. Instead, it looks like he's in a gunfight towards Pixel. Vinny, meanwhile, enters and gets God Legion off the board. First of those E1Ds goes out as well. And Onyxian now slightly on the back foot, but once again, the plant denial information is really prevalent for Onyxian. And they're still in a great position. Digital holding this angle with the ACOG, sees the player quickly peek out, but can't quite hit the shot. Another E1D rings out, and Fisher Guy actually drops the hatch. It's all gone off here with a minute to go. Fisher Guy makes his way in towards the side and drops the head of the Maestro. Can he get the second? No, he's shut down, and Sinister, they've fallen to pieces. Nico's left in a 1-on-3. Geo's low, but he needs to get all 3 picks to take the round. He's getting shot from below as well. And Onyxian have fallen back to playing passive. They know they have the bomb down, and it's up to Nico to collect it and get the kills. He gets 1 with a flick onto Geo. He was low already, but now he has 2 full HP opponents to get through. He doesn't know there's one to his hard right, and he gets shut down. And Onyxian will take the round. A valiant effort there from Sinister, but pretty well shut down in the end.
Yeah, we're on to match point now for Onyxian. I liked some of what we saw from Sinister. Their decision to just drop down that hatch, use that line charge to enable that. You can see what they were going for when Mozzie and Mute is really preventing that information gathering to a large degree, and they don't have the thermite to open up piano wall, take control of how you typically do things on Kafe top floor, where you open up piano and then you move into piano and then you open up freezer and you disable these positions. No, they're not going to do that. They want us to try and do the quick and dirty thing, drop down the hatch, and well, it didn't quite work. And Onyxian was always ready to get that one trade, that next trade, and well, Sinister was there to find at least a couple kills on the entry, but yeah, it clearly wasn't enough.
Yeah, the drop itself from Fisher Guy was relatively successful. He got the kill and got refragged, but the rest of his team maybe lagging behind a little bit, not able to quite support him. Would have been a fair distance away as well, probably just shut down as Onyxian would have been holding those angles. So unfortunate for them. They are now 2 rounds behind. Match point against them, and I guess the question is, Deb, do you think they have what it takes now to draw it out? Or do you think it's probably a lost cause?
It's definitely doable here for Sinister because we're going to Library next for Onyxian, and that's the only bomb side that Sinister's won so far on their attack. So it's a re-attempt here for Onyxian, rather. It's not Sinister. Yes, it's an Onyxian match point, but it's not Sinister we should be looking at and saying, okay, what you got? It's an Onyxian we should be looking at and say, look, do you have what it takes to correct your mistakes on that previous defense? Because you got to show that now, otherwise you're going to get as close as we can possibly get at a 6-5, and then we'll see whether Sinister can tie it up or Onyxian takes it.
Interestingly enough, Sinister once again bringing one hard breach, and it will be the Maverick once again. So we saw a lot of Habana play earlier from Onyxian, but Sinister seemingly not too interested in playing Habana. Yeah, maybe a comfort pick to some extent, I guess.
Maybe they're just not, because with Hibana, you're going to have to deal with the mute jammers in order to use the Hibana. So maybe they're just not so keen on trying to clear out those mute jammers. I'm not quite sure, but Vinny, man, he's been going off today. Must be his 13th kill at this point, and he does find Digital right out of the gate. Great job from Vinny to kick things off, and he's really turned up the heat here against his old team.
I can see you're tracking the opening kills there, Dev. Give us the stats. How many has Vinny got?
Oh, man. Vinny is popping off right now. He's up 5-0 at the moment in opening engagements. And, oh, it's an explosion for Molosca. He heads straight in, finds 3 kills. Yes, taken out, but Red, you're going to have to do a whole lot more than that here. And, well, we forecast this Library defense as a challenge for Onyxian. Sinister step up. They get back in the game.
Milo doing what Milo does best. He just absolutely charged in towards the side and relied on his mechanical skill to get the job done. And now that leaves Sinister 1 round away from the draw. And I think, based off their first half, I think that a draw will probably be a decent outcome for them.
Yeah, and you get that 1 point. And last season, Sinister lost 0-7 to Onyxian. And the other game, the second map, they managed to pull things together and get 5 rounds, but they still lost. It was 5-7. Now, this is still just the first map, so if Sinister can replicate what they did last season, where they improved their result on the second map, even if they lose or draw this here, we got one more map coming up, and I don't want to count Sinister out, especially when Vinny's been performing as he has.
We've seen Kitchen once in the second half here, defended by Onyxian. They were successful, so they're 1-0 currently on this side so far on the defense. They won, like all the other rounds, by killing their opponent. We haven't seen a plant yet. We saw quite a few in that first half, but Sinister unable to convert the plants, instead opting to go for frags in most cases. Paid off in some of those rounds, but not all. Of course, they're 2-3 down in this second half, as it was a 3-all half first up. And if it's 3-all in the second, of course, it will be a draw. There's no OT in Pro League, and both teams rather will walk away with 1 point, no overtime.
Yeah, and that's not an outcome either of these teams want. I mean, I'm sure Sinister would rather get the 1 point than none, but it's really it's not ideal for them. It's not what they're gunning for, but at the same time, take what you can get. Like you said, they were confident going into this series, but they've been met with an Onyxian that is, as ever, still very strong, still very powerful. Once again, Mute Jam is really putting a thorn in Sinister's side. Molosca's got his confidence. He's been in a lot of these opening engagements. Hasn't won most of them. He's 1 for 3 at the moment. 1 opening kill, 3 opening deaths. But he has that confidence. That's what matters. That persistence can sometimes make the difference.
Interesting to note that he's not running the AirCog as well there on Zofia. So likely playing 4-3 as Fisho flashes himself.
And Molosca as well.
So Milo is playing the holo, which is, again, personal preference, comes down to what you feel comfortable with. And he is the entry of the team, so expecting him to head in first if they go for this. But surely Fisho will get that torch working, and he will. The main wall getting opened, and as you mentioned, Mute on the board. But a Mute, unfortunately, cannot counter the breaching torch as Nico gets Geo. We could well see the draw here. Nico's setting up nicely for a nade. Thinks better of it, though. Probably doesn't want to take out his teammate as Fisho keeps making this angle bigger and bigger. C4 comes out, but it doesn't get a kill. Red's going to be critical in holding this position. He hasn't used his C4 yet, though, so if he manages to get one through the little Maverick hole, that could net him a few kills. Very hard to do so, so it will need to be calculated. Red Legion as well, holding the red corridor as Red continues to peak. But the Maverick's going to be safe because he's doing it the smart way.
Yeah, this is a good job from Fisher so far. He's trying to unreinforce this wall. So he made one line at about waist height or a bit higher, and then he's prone down and made another line. If you get it all the way across from left to right on one panel, it'll unreinforce the wall, and you just have to shoot out the remaining plasterboard, but he hasn't done it quite correctly yet.
I wonder if he has enough ammo in the breaching torch to actually do that. No, he doesn't, I don't think. So he might not have enough left to actually get that wall open. Instead, trying to enter in towards prep. Flash has come out. Milo's actually swung all the way around as well, so it looks like Sinister going for a bit of a squeeze here from either side of the objective, but many of them just holding angles at the moment, waiting for the time to go for that execute, but they've only got about 40 seconds left on the board. Red still holding a strong position as Milo is continually pushing from behind here, and he has a little bit of utility himself to use. Smoke's being saved here by Vinny, I think, for the plant.
Vast was upstairs as well, watching this angle through the floor down to prep, and I think he's actually made a flank, so he's not on that position anymore. Some smokes go out. Vast is going for a flank, but it's being watched by Luna. He might get caught off guard, but Red starts it out. Oh no! Vast gets taken down by Luna. It's a 3-on-3 now in the final few seconds of the round. Digital on his Maestro camera. He's salvaging this round, and he's the last man standing for Onyxian. We may see the draw. Sinister, just a few seconds. They're all getting the defuse down. Digital gets it. And they win the map. Sinister just shy of that draw. And Onyxian take Kafe 7-5.
So close. Luna was a fraction of a second from swinging around. She already got one with the pistol and could have got another, but unfortunately for Sinister, Onyxian will come out on top on map number 1, and they set themselves up nicely in the first half.
They certainly did. I think that the fact that they went 3-3 in the first half and managed to rack up as many of those attacker wins on what should be defensive sided, that really did help them out. But I've got to say, this is good for Sinister. We